Looks like the lights are just out in that room.
Mm-hmm. Well, are we live? I think we're live. Are we live?
Yep.
Just sound a
Yeah,
notification.
we're definitely live.
Nice.
Damn. Every time
There's one of us.
I even purposely turned it down, and I had to turn it up for something. A few minutes
So,
ago.
hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. And we already have a is it Teenage Freak? Yep, Teenage Freak
What's
is
up?
in the comment section. What's up, Jacob?
Oh, I just said, what's up? I was talking to Teenage Freak.
Oh, are you?
I'm sharing it right now.
Okay, so he's sharing.
Just sharing
Actually, Lavina. Hi, Lavina. She's in
Lavina will
she's in
be
the chat.
joining us from the sidelines.
Yes. I remembered one time, it was for the one where we did the Nintendo Direct thing.
Mm-hmm.
There were people, we got a lot of downvotes on that because a lot of people said, oh gosh, first 5 seconds in and they're already on their tablets. And I'm like, it's because we're sharing.
Yeah, everybody does that. If you watch a
since
lot
YouTube
live
fucked
stuff.
over the whole notification system.
Yeah, it's like, well, how do you expect us to get the word out? What, do you expect us just to will it to happen? It's like, share. It's like,
So, if you all may have not noticed, we've all gotten haircuts, it appears.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
They did.
That is correct. Yeah.
I feel professional again.
I feel colder.
Yeah, that's always.
I feel more cold because the hair I had on the top of my head was like really thick. Actually, the person who cuts my hair, she said every time you walk in here, I always spend more time sweeping up your hair than I do almost anyone else's because it's just so thick and just like I'm like thank you, I guess. And she's like
sorry.
She's like, I might have to start charging you double. And I'm like, I guess it's a compliment because I heard Archer one time from the show Archer actually say, it's like, oh, and don't bother me about my hair. It's so thick my barber charges me double. And I'm like, didn't ask you about your hair.
Yep.
So, man, I'll tell you, man. Ever since like we started coming down here, started doing stuff like this, it's just been like one thing after another. Just as my computer crapping out on me and everything. The
TV's not connecting.
Yeah, TV's not connecting. Just little hiccups everywhere, and there's really nothing we can do about it because it's just technology. Some days it's your friend, some days
It just wants to fuck you.
Some days it's HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it's just like, I'm sorry, Nate, I just can't do that.
How?
Open the pod bay doors. HAL.
Open the pod bay doors.
Open the pod bay doors.
14
HAL.
more times.
I'm sorry, I cannot do that.
So Lavina asked, who is that green guy?
Oh, that green guy? Oh, well, why don't we ask him?
What's your name?
Oh, he's a silent type. That's fine. Don't worry. He's just shy.
I'm Gator the dinosaur. And I'm high.
I'm a dinosaur. Don't mind me. I'm just high. God. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's an alligator. He thinks he's a dinosaur.
Nate, question. Do you still do Try Not to Laugh challenges? I'm up for doing Try Not to Laugh challenges. It's just whenever we do one without Ben, everyone's just like, why wasn't Ben here? This could have been the one to break him. Because we've done well over 60 Try Not to Laugh challenges, and Ben has never broken once. Not once.
I'm pretty good at not laughing if I don't want to.
Yeah,
I can control it pretty good.
Sometimes I'll laugh just to force it to make it feel like it's a more laughy environment, but I'm pretty stone cold.
So. Oh, I seen you losing it one time when the animals, if they were
around.
He was about laughing, falling out of his seat.
That was the second time I was watching it through.
Oh yeah, and you.
The first time, dude, I was suffocating.
Hello, Dell. Hello, Soaring Dragon. Hello, Mikey Silverlance. Mikey Silverlance says, "What the hell did I just walk into?"
Yep.
Yeah. You walked into a conversation.
Well, you see, this alligator killed Lavina and is now taking his place.
Yeah.
Taking her place.
So, Jacob, how does that make you feel?
Well,
you're dating an
what
alligator
a crock.
Oh, well, what's the difference again?
It's just a pun. It doesn't have to make sense.
In terms of a scientific aspect,
They got
Crocs
narrow
actually
snouts.
Crocs actually can stay out in like more secluded areas and don't have to be near water as much.
No,
Whereas gators,
less aquatic.
yeah, whereas gators have to be around water pretty much at all times.
Yeah.
And they got thin snouts with a lot of nasty teeth.
Yes.
Which they got wide mouths with a lot of
Seems
nasty
like the
teeth.
crocodiles have a tactical advantage in that war.
Yes and no, because
alligators thrive in the water, though.
Alligators, also, there's more alligators than there are crocs.
And they got stronger bites, too.
Yes, they do.
But as long as the crocs just go inland, the alligators will never touch them.
Well, yeah,
That's true.
but if your primary hunting area is a swamp,
This is a really stupid conversation we're
yes, it
having.
is. We're discussing
It's like Warriors, but instead of Warriors on the History Channel, it's
swamp people.
just animals. Like, which animal would it in?
No, it'd be swamp people on the History Channel.
Oh,
It's just like, how is swamp people history? Because all of a sudden, every time I remember, my dad was actually into that show for a very long time, and every time I walked in, I'd always hear, "Shoot him a little bit, shoot him." I'm like, is he saying shoot them or shoot them? Because that Cajun accent's hard to unravel sometimes. Because look, and almost all the people on that show have a French last name because hey, it's Louisiana and the French that's originally a French territory. So, yay, there you go.
Yeah.
So, overall, man, this last week has actually been very strange because Anthem came out, and
It's not doing so hot.
Anthem bombed heavy. It sold less copies than Mass Effect Andromeda.
Well, that was because they didn't have a fucking. Just in 2 years alone, EA is taking so much fucking extra heat since Andromeda.
Well, EA has decimated all of these great companies. I mean, you look at what they did to Visceral.
Mm-hmm.
Visceral Games, who gave us the Dead Space games, and they just gutted them. They gutted them and they turned them into this husk of a game developer studio. And then what do? They turn around and just close it down because, well, they weren't profitable enough.
Yeah, I'm convinced EA has absolutely no long-term survival plan.
They don't.
I mean,
I don't know, really. In long-term survival plan in video games is a hard thing to say because the industry has changed so much, and if the only thing you're thriving off is the business and the money aspect of it, my question is, do they have to make billions to stay afloat? I mean, I get it, a 400
if those executives aren't making
it's
eight digits, then
to me, like, if you invest 400 million into a game and you make 500 million back, that's a success to me. But according to the the investors,
you have to take into account it's not just the development of the game, because if you spend $400 million on a game, that's just on the game. You're not counting in advertising. You're not counting in.
I'm telling that is the entire. The entire production of it. I mean, if you spend $400 million on a game and you make $500 million back, everybody gets paid. That's enough to pay everybody that worked on the thing a lot of money.
Which GTA 5
some capital to.
But you got the 4 or 5 main investors. Oh, well, we didn't triple our money. I mean, and then they get all pissed. I don't get that.
Well,
you see it in Hollywood. You see it now in the video game industry. And 25 years ago, they didn't know how the video game industry was really going. All they knew is it was growing and expanding. They didn't know what console was going to be next, what's going to be the selling platform. And now it's changed again with the digital age. And then, of course, microtransactions.
That was the thing. Like, when Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, and fans were fucking infuriated with the whole microtransaction bullshit, the pay-to-play, horse shit. And EA, was like, oh, okay, we'll back off on that, even though it was probably temporary. But then as soon as they backed off, the stockbrokers on fucking Wall Street, like, they shouldn't have done that. That was dumb. Why would they do that? Fuck you, fucking Wall Street motherfuckers. It's fucking absolutely. They have absolutely no fucking interest in the goddamn art or the.
No, they don't. That's why
fucking game.
That's why, in truth, I think most video game companies should remain private.
Yeah.
Remain like fully privately owned and all that. It's like Bioware for the longest time was just a subsidiary. They didn't allow themselves to be bought by anyone. That was until EA wagged a big check in front of Ray Muzica and I forget the other original the original founders. I forget their names. But after Mass Effect 3 happened, which is where EA really started to dip its fingers in and really start to strangle Bioware, that's when the founders left because they realized, oh God, this is what we got ourselves into. And it's just one thing after another, man. I mean, EA, they bomb after bomb after bomb, and they always blame the game development house instead of blaming in-house politics.
So I haven't followed it too much as far as the whole with Anthem and stuff going on. So is it just nobody buying the game, or
there are people who are enjoying it and all that, but overall the sales, the bad press of the demo being a piece of crap, and also the bad press of launch being a mess as well, and that the game, while fun and promising, is still underdeveloped. And
I wasn't even really feeling the build up for like the Anthem release. It just kind of
I wasn't either.
Happened.
You see, I've had friends who were very excited. They said, "Oh, this is going to be what BioWare needs to get back at it, and then they'll be able to go back and they'll be able to like fix Andromeda and all this and all that." No, turns out this is probably going to be BioWare's last legs. Because if this game wasn't, they said that if this game wasn't successful, they would be in very bad trouble with EA. In which, you know what I wish? I wish that they would pull an Activision and just leave. But yet they're under a contractual obligation to where they can't leave. EA has to release them, or EA has the right to shut down the studio. EA's going to shut down the studio and cut their losses and make their money back selling all the stuff and just not paying BioWare's bills anymore.
Do they get to keep the rights of Mass Effect?
Probably not. All of them, I think, were signed over to EA.
EA gets that shit?
I think so.
That's the end of Mass Effect then.
Well,
which fucking sucks. That pisses me off.
Does. It does, because EA just doesn't understand. Okay, when I heard the president of EA's statement on why certain video games are successful and certain ones aren't, because I guarantee you, he saw like the battle royale thing, and he was just like, "This is what we need to do now. All games need to be like this, and we need to be paid to play." That's the problem.
At the point when you're seeing this cool trend and stuff, and be like, "Man, we need to do that." It's already too late.
Yeah,
because the trend is going to be gone.
Because that doesn't come from your creativity. Yeah. That just goes to hopping on a bandwagon.
Yeah, it's a knee-jerk reaction.
The development, even on like the short end, even if it only took you 2 years to develop the game, that trend is gone. I mean, I imagine Battle Royale is not going to last that much longer.
Well, it all depends on how they go about it, because Apex looks like it's pretty much the new king of the hill, because Fortnite has fallen a massive amount in terms of its profitability. It's actually down 48% in terms of profitability.
Yeah.
Whereas Apex is going nowhere but up. And you see, the amount of people who are playing Apex is astounding. And I can see why certain video game companies out there would see that and would say, yeah, that's what we need and all this and all that. Well, in order for your game to have that, even if you want to just do microtransactions and stuff like that, it has to be fun. You see, Battlefield 2 wasn't fun. Battlefield 1 was a little bit fun, but it was still needlessly grating on so many levels. And from what I understand,
Battlefield
1.
You said Battlefield 2. You mean Battlefield 5?
Or Battlefront. Sorry,
Battlefront.
Okay. And Battlefront, Battlefront 2. Battlefield 5 and Anthem, all of them are steps in the wrong direction, because first off, Battlefield 5, instead of concentrating on your story mode, making your story mode interesting, and also fixing all the bugs in your game to where it's actually playable for the most part, and also fixing your multiplayer to where you're not playing on the same map over and over and over and over and over again. I think they had a total of 5 maps ready Just 5. Versus Battlefield 1, which I think had 10 at launch.
Hey, well, I remember when Halo 2 came out, it came with like 20.
Yeah, exactly. and that's what's wrong. They're doing all the wrong things, and they're taking stuff out instead of adding stuff in and putting the stuff in that we as gamers like. Because, like me, I played Call of Duty World War II with my cousin, and there were, I think there were, when we played, there were 8 maps on there, and they were fun. They were very fun, and then there were more that were added in, and those were also fun. But for me, when I first heard what the president of EA said in terms of their planning for games from here on out, it was single player games are not important. Single player games are dead. To which my response to that would be Last of Us, Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Fucking great game.
Friggin' God of War.
I don't understand where people...
Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah. Well, you know where it comes from? It comes from being a businessman instead of being a game developer.
Yeah, I mean, you can't make money beyond the initial purchase of the game. The person's not going to make any more money off somebody that likes to play single player. Well, you can only make money off multiplayer.
Not really, because God of War massively profitable.
No, I mean, as far as the people are looking at, cool, we can sell the base game to somebody, but if we create all this DLC shit and stuff that forces people to buy
the thing about it, like for example, Apex is a free to play game.
Yeah,
yes.
It is free, so that right there draws most of your customers in. Then they see DLC that they can expand upon this if they really want to dive into it.
Yeah.
So that's 2 different ways to make them profit.
And
a AAA title is $60 straight up front. It gets
the microtransaction thing for free to play games is totally fine, because a developer for free to play games and stuff is amazing. And I'm assuming that EA is behind the whole Apex thing, or
yes, EA is behind it, but it's still not enough to save EA in my book.
No, I mean,
because the people who made that is Respawn. Respawn Entertainment are the people who were fired by Infinity Ward after the whole debacle with Activision. See, a bunch of people at Infinity Ward who did Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, they got let go in a tremendously bad way. Like, these are game devs who've been working in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years, and were masters at their craft, at crafting very good Twitch shooters and very good, like...
Game developer career.
They got let go after...
Yeah, and... Do what?
They got let off after Modern Warfare 2?
Yes, they got let off Modern Warfare after. Actually, I think a lot of them got let off after just Modern Warfare, and then Modern Warfare 2. The rest of the original team got laid off.
That does explain why Modern Warfare 3 always kind of had not as a good feel. As the first 2.
Well, yeah, and I saw it too, and for me, whenever they decided, hey, we're gonna go start up our own game studio, and it was called Respawn, and Respawn are the people who are responsible for
the original Titanfall was cool. It was weird because that was, especially back then, I really didn't give a shit about multiplayer. I was always in a single player, and so it was kind of a interesting dynamic how the first Titanfall kind of forced you to play multiplayer to play the campaign, but it was in such a way that I didn't have to be committed to I got to get my rank up in multiplayer to get so and so. Now, I mean, it's a fairly linear, structure. Even the camp, when it goes through the missions and stuff, it does the campaign in a pretty linear way.
Yeah,
which is good. But yeah. So what is the status of Respawn now? Are they still under
Respawn? I think right now they are. I think they're doing it as a subsidiary. I don't think they're a full contracted partner with EA. I think they're just a subsidiary of EA because they released Apex on Origin, which is EA's platform, EA's digital platform. And I think with that, they are able to secure enough funding to probably do Titanfall 3, which I want them to do, because Titanfall 1 was an awesome game in terms of gameplay. The only place it was lacking was the single player had nothing. The single player was thin as
Well, there wasn't a single player. Was
well,
it?
yeah,
it was all multiplayer.
It was.
That's what I was saying. I mean.
Well, there were little story elements there that you could construe as a single player thing, but overall, the game felt empty without a single player mode. And then Titanfall 2 comes out, and they come up with an amazing story.
Yeah.
They come up with this sentient Titan that's just like, I've got you, and then just like puts you in his chest. It's like, yes. This is the stuff that we need.
Yeah,
we need
the teleporting thing where you that shit was fucking cool.
Dude, I loved it.
I haven't even opened it yet.
Oh, dude, it's worth it.
Sitting in plastic cellophane still in there.
That's even in the campaign. Everything it's motion. There's no sitting still, standing behind cover. It's always
you're
bouncing
moving
around walls and shit.
I like movement a lot.
Yeah. I do too.
Mm-hmm.
I value that.
That's always why I liked Unreal Tournament as opposed to Quake.
Yeah,
because you could if you double tap, any direction, whatever, it'll boost you, and you can jump on walls and double tap again. It would reset that. So you double tap, jump into the wall, double tap off. You had a lot of movement abilities that just created so many cool skills and since we got some negative things to say about video game developers and as far as business overturning, game design, and one company that I adore probably the most, and I'm a big fanboy of, basically, is...
Adore or abhor?
Adore?
Or abhor?
Adore. I adore.
Love, okay.
Love, or anything, is Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
Nintendo has not strayed too far from the broken path of crazy industry. Yeah, they're not cartridges anymore. They're still using physical
they're using
cards.
SD
I don't have to install my games. I put it in there and it plays.
Yep.
A $60 title like Breath of the Wild is a $60 title. Yes, there is some DLC, but it's well worth it. Yeah. And it's...
Well, you see, I don't mind paying for DLC as long as it's worth it. If you're asking me to pay $5 for a hat...
Yeah, or a skin or something
like
that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for me, actually, to me, Nintendo is really... Nintendo's were their own worst enemy sometimes. Mm-hmm. Especially on a PR front. In terms of PR, when they did the Nintendo Creators Program and pretty much said to people, oh no, you can't stream or play our video games on YouTube or, and make videos off of them and that
is true. They're very Apple-like when it comes to a lot of their product. Yep.
Yeah, and that was nonsense. And thankfully they did away with it. I said a long time ago, if they really want to connect with the people and they really want people to truly forgive them, they will get rid of the Nintendo Creators Program. And lo and behold, the day before Smash Brothers Ultimate comes out, they get rid of it. I'm like, yes, that's a win. Thank you, Nintendo.
Real quick, Harley Myrick, the mech in Titan, or the Titan in Titanfall that you're thinking of is BT.
Yeah,
I don't know what the full code is for it, but his shorthand name is BT.
Yeah, but also Nintendo also being one of their worst enemies was when you know about the Sony deal that Nintendo originally had with them
when they pulled out from Sony and then Sony decided to make their own console, which is the birth of the PlayStation.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I know all about it.
Ken Kutaragi, man, Ken Kutaragi, the father of the PlayStation. He designed a sound chip for the Nintendo, for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo's not perfect. Nintendo is definitely not perfect. All video game consoles have their ups and downs and stuff like that. But as far as game design and still making brilliant games, I mean, Breath of the Wild got Game of the Year in 2017, and for good reason.
I think so,
If you've dove a good 100 hours into that game, oh, Lord.
Horizon could have gotten it fucking Breath of the Wild and come out 2 weeks after Horizon's release.
Yeah.
Well, true.
But then it would have competed with God of War, and man, that would have been a showdown right there.
Yeah, well, plus
those are some massive
those are Sony's. Mm-hmm. Those are Sony's babies.
They didn't want to release them at the same time.
Well, and now there's this year. This year, The Last of Us Part 2 comes out.
Yes, that's what I'm waiting on.
What's the release date on that?
They said sometime early summer. They said probably May or June, which I'm excited for it, but I'm a little apprehensive because of how
the gameplay I saw, man.
No, the gameplay. I have no qualms about the gameplay. I will never doubt Sony. I will never doubt Naughty Dog in terms of being able to build a good action platformer ever, because they're the creators of Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, and now they're doing The Last of Us. My biggest primary concern is that Neil Druckmann is going to just... I'm not going to say he's going to, but there's a history of this happening sometimes with certain developers. And what it is him pretty much being hoisted by his own petard. Is that he's going to try and go a little too grandiose with the story, and he's going to lose fans along the way because of the storytelling being so grandiose and being so far out there that people are going to be alienated by it.
Yeah.
In which I've seen that it happened worst with George Romero. George Romero is the best example I can think of someone pretty much being his own worst enemy and hoisting himself with his own petard. Was when he did Daikatana. When he did Daikatana, Daikatana was his first game after he left id Software.
Okay.
Yeah, he was pretty much one of the rock stars of id Software.
Yeah.
Doom, Wolfenstein, some of the best 3D platforming 3D action games ever.
Yeah.
Some say the birth, one of the fathers of the first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Him and John Carmack.
The birth of the horror genre too.
Yeah, a lot of people say that
I'm
too.
gonna give you access to my Steam account so you can play through fucking Wolfenstein, New Order, and New Colossus.
Yeah, I had a friend let me borrow them one time, and I never got around to playing them.
Wolfenstein.
Played the original Wolfenstein on floppy disk though. So.
Well, yeah, Wolfenstein: The New Blood, and New Colossus, and also the Old Blood too. The DLC they did for New Order.
Wait, was there a New Blood?
No, the Old Blood.
Okay.
It was the New Order, Old Blood, New Colossus.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was the first Wolfenstein game, the first of this new Wolfenstein games that came out in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
The Wolfenstein games have gotten nowhere but better. New Colossus, the reviews for it were through the roof by comparison to the...
It was good.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely... I love that alternate history stuff.
I do, too.
And then all the cool, like the fucking... shotgun turret thing.
So it's set in a time where
the Nazis
won
World War II, and so basically you as JB
okay,
Black
I know which games you're talking about now because I watched my brother play many hours of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just thinking it was a different game for some reason. Okay,
basically,
coming back.
It's JB Blacksmiths, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
You are William Joseph. Joseph BJ.
So
Blaskowitz.
BJ, that's right, BJ. So basically, it's like extended World War II. The invasion of Normandy didn't go so well, and so it's like 1946 or 47, and we're still fighting the Nazis, but we're losing the war. And then in a battle, BJ, the main character, basically gets knocked out and into a coma after like the battle has been lost, and he's like basically put into like some Polish. Fisherman or whatever find him. He's in a coma for like 14 years. He's put in a hospital, and in that 14-year span, basically the Nazis have just taken over the entire Earth.
Yeah,
so that explains the future.
Yeah, so you wake up in like 1960 or 61 or whatever.
Okay,
yeah, it's some cool shit.
Okay, because I thought I seen like laser weapons and stuff in there at one point. So okay,
and then of course 1960 rolls around, and it's sort of a surrealist kind of thing because what they do is they show what America potentially would have been like. There's one section that takes place in Texas, dude. There are people walking around in KKK hoods and garb, just walking around in plain sight.
New Colossus.
New Colossus, and then of course there's also the Nazis walking around pretty much being the police force, and they're just like praising the KKK members, and then they're just like, of course they're disappointed with their German too.
Well, yeah, that was the funny thing is because like the actual like the Germans look down on the even like the KKK people aren't good enough for the Germans in a way, like the Nazis
because they don't speak German.
Yeah. So
and
now you
should speak the language of the motherland.
And now
sorry, German, German.
Yeah,
sorry.
I thought Germany was the fatherland.
The father.
Okay.
Motherland. No.
Motherland's Russia.
Motherland's Russia. Fatherland. Sorry.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I think it's kind of interchangeable.
So because
I'm not sure. I'm not a historian.
I've heard like Russia being called the fatherland too. It's
yeah. I think it just depends on how you want to put it.
Okay.
Not 100% on that.
Yeah. Now your video's gonna be.
Where's Union when you need him?
I don't know. Hey Union, you in chat? Doesn't look like.
But it gets weird too because like, even though it's only like 15 years after World War II, like the Nazis have colonized the moon, and fuck, they even have like in the New Colossus they have like a fucking Venus station and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I can't wait for the next one because if they went as ridiculous as they did at the end of New Colossus, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do in 3.
Which I don't know exactly what the incentive there is, because like, I mean, the whole reason why America gave up was like Nazis basically nuked New York City and stuff, and so I don't know exactly. So cool, we're gonna have another American Revolution, and then we're gonna immediately get nuked again. I mean,
well, not necessarily. You see, there's something to be said about the game with how it ended in New Colossus. With how it ended in New Colossus, it's pretty much a wake up call to everyone in the United States. It's like, rise up, fight back.
That's the thing. It's one thing to fight a conventional army, but when you're fighting an insurgency, that's a fucking
well, there's a
tough
reason
fight.
why we lost Vietnam.
Yeah,
that's why.
There's a reason why we're in Afghanistan for fucking 18 years now.
Yeah, so. We're still losing, and we'll probably I don't
I
know.
mean, there's not really to win. It's
just there's no big army to defeat and get a fucking somebody to sign a surrender.
Peace treaty. Yeah,
it's basically
It's underground leadership. It's many heads of a hydra.
We're going to be put in a position where basically we just got to go. I mean, because there's no.
It pretty much be the situation that we have in Iraq, and now we have ISIS there now, and that's
ISIS is fortunately. Pretty much down for the count, but you're just going to have another fucking 2-bit insurgent group.
Well, of course, because you're pretty much inviting militants, and that's one thing that I really just despise about how everything has happened in the Middle East. Look, I know there were some terrible regimes, but at the same time, in the 1960s there was a democratically elected president of Iraq, and do you know what happened? We killed him.
Are you talking about? No, wait, Iraq or Iran?
No, it was. Oh no, it wasn't.
1953 in Iran, there was a democratically elected leader.
Yeah.
That didn't really. I think the U.S. was worried they were going to side with the communists and.
Well, of course, and then there was a coup, and we reinstalled the Shah of Iran.
Yeah, we put in a fucking king because. America.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It's because he honestly. That was probably one of the biggest historical miscommunications I could think of that has ever happened. Because the president, the democratically elected leader, actually said he was unsure of how he wanted to proceed.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was no. It was not like the president said outright, "Hey, I'm going to side with the USSR." Back then during the Cold War, it was a matter of this leader might be if they're on the fence. They have to go.
Yeah,
we got to put in our own fascist dictator, even though they're a terrible person, but they'll side with us, and so,
which makes no friggin' sense.
Which is why everybody, even just the idea of like Trump siding with Guaido, whatever, to replace Maduro in Venezuela, has got everybody all fucking.
Well, honestly,
upset.
But here's the thing: he's not opting to send in troops,
right? And that.
You see, the one Secretary of State wants to. He wanted to, but Trump shot that down. And you see, I'm wanting the situation in Venezuela to be resolved diplomatically instead of with force. But this is Maduro we're talking about. Maduro is an evil bastard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know as far as his level of competence. Clearly, he didn't keep his economy fucking good to go.
Well, you can blame Chavez for that, because Chavez was the one who set it up to be that way, and he just told Maduro,
I think Chavez
don't fuck it up.
But I think Chavez managed to keep things fairly stabilized, and then Chavez kicked the bucket. Maduro took over, had no fucking idea what he was doing.
Well, it was actually on its way down when Chavez was still in power, but it wasn't. It was leading into a recession. But what we have now is hyperinflation and a crippling
it's
amount
like
of
fucking
depression.
1930s Germany or 1920s Germany.
Because people are burning bolivars to stay warm.
Literally, their money is easier to wipe your ass with their money than to pay for fucking toilet paper. It's ridiculous.
It is. And also there are people eating garbage. There are people who are They went into the zoos and butchered the animals.
So basically, their currency is useless.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's.
So,
I mean, it's
yeah.
like you'll. That's what I'm saying.
Their value of a dollar drop.
You'll see a roll of toilet, like they've shown the meme that's going around, a roll of toilet paper, and then a big stack of Bolivar bills.
They're burning it to stay warm and keep the toilet paper.
I mean, it's
Well,
okay, I got you.
It's because Maduro just didn't want to stop spending money, and he was just like, let's just keep printing money. It's not how it works. That's not how it works.
But it's very telling when like you have the U.S. and a lot of like the Western nations and stuff say, side with Guaido, and then you have Russia, China, Turkey, and Iran all be like, no, we want Maduro. He's such a good guy, says all of the nations that are all fucking oppressive, nearly fascist regimes.
Yeah. I have no idea. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
I don't keep up with a lot of stuff. I probably should.
It's fine.
It's
fine.
It's hard enough to keep up with everything all at once. But
I'm. So that's the thing. I don't have the. What is it that conservatives call it, the Trump derangement syndrome thing?
Okay.
No. Yeah, I don't like Trump by any stretch of the imagination. Either. But I'm also there are things that I do believe we should do, and supporting Maduro is not one of them.
No, 100% against Maduro. I'm apolitical. I don't care if the person who's running the country is doing it. I literally don't care. I could care less. Like me, I do care about some things. Like number one, pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement instead of trying to renegotiate. That's one thing I wish would have gone differently. Also, the Chinese tariffs, I'm all for free trade, and that is bullshit.
That's the thing, though, dude. You're not going to get that from Trump. Trump is still sitting here fucking denying climate change left and right, and it's incredibly frustrating.
Well, you're going to run into people who are like that, and you're also going to run into people who are like Al Gore, who said back when he did 2001's An Inconvenient Truth, he said, by the year 2020, we will all be underwater.
Right, yeah. I mean, obviously...
Yeah, that's an extreme prediction.
That's the scare tactics kind of stuff. But...
Well, also, when it comes to greenhouse gases, we are currently number 10 in the world, I think. I think when I looked at the chart, we're number 10 in the world. Versus where we used to be number 1.
Oh yeah,
we used to be number 1, but now we're number 10.
But we have the economy, the infrastructure.
Oh, number 1. Number 1 is actually India. Number 2 is China.
Okay, because everybody talks about China and stuff like that, and I just recently watched a couple documentaries on India thanks to the Netflix show One Strange Rock. Will Smith, awesome show. Well, but that had me dive into some other educational stuff, and I saw India is a massive industry. I mean, I didn't realize how technologically,
but it's also an armpit.
Set up. And it has so many different states within it, or as you would call it, that do not cooperate or talk.
It's very much a
You can go from India, you can go one section here and travel 10 miles down the road, and they speak a different language. Travel 10 miles down the road, another language.
Of course, you have the base Indian language. And then you have Punjab, you have the Muslims, you have a whole different array of different peoples living in the areas.
India is definitely something of kind of like a confederation.
It is.
And the Sentinelese Island, if you guys are researched that, Sentinelese Island is a island there that hasn't been touched by outside humanity.
I'm pretty sure at this point everybody should know.
For about 5,000 years.
Yeah.
So there is a whole entire... tribe of people on this island that's never been off of it, and they'll kill anybody that comes within contact. And India has pretty much protected them by saying nobody's allowed to go there, because I mean there's lots of good reasons why we're not supposed to go there, but also a lot of kind of it's kind of a big question right now. You have an island left on this planet right now that you're just leaving to the natives because you don't want to inhibit them. Obviously they're going to try to kill you if you go near their borders. So India's kind of, I think it's pretty wild. I mean,
it is. It's there's also an island just off the coast of Iceland that's actually a developing volcanic island, and actually the government has pretty much turned it into a 100% human-free habitat zone, and people actually rode there and planted potatoes just to
humanize it,
just to try and humanize the Icelandic government sent people over to dig up the potatoes, bring them back to bring them back, and then burn them.
So India's big thing is you got an undiscovered island, and that can cause a lot of diseases that are that we haven't made vaccinations for yet, or haven't.
Well, I think the bigger concern is that our diseases would kill them.
Well, that's true. That's true.
I mean, it's true both ways. I mean, some people say, like, "Oh, well, we shouldn't care to kill." They're still humans. First of all, they're still humans. I mean, they might behave like savages in a tribe, but that's natural human behavior.
It is.
I mean, if it's been there for 5,000 years, that's what lack of education does to anything. You either evolve or you just stay an animal.
You stagnate. I mean, evolutionary stagnation. I mean, that's something that they're saying that that gorillas are currently experiencing that right now. It's something that what's the name of that? It's this one bird that actually is more. It's more like a raptor than any other bird out there. Mm-hmm. It's got this really huge, weird beak, and it actually hunts this. The reason why it's going out is because it's reached evolutionary stagnation because its environment has changed so much that it can't
survive. Yeah, and it's not adapting fast enough.
It fed on these types of eels that would that had to surface in order to absorb sunlight. But these eels actually have evolved now to where they don't actually have to come up as often, and thus their population is dwindling. And where the population dwindles, boom, they all die.
So going back to the India thing, they got a lot of tribes in southern India that, like, for example, tourists are not allowed to photograph. If you go through there, you're not allowed to have cameras. You're not allowed to. I mean, they're not hostile. They're not hostile.
Very conservative culture. Like, I mean, they'll when women are going through their period every month, or whatever, they like the community will shun them. Which is just weird.
Well, it's a very male-oriented country.
That sounds
actually
crazy.
In certain provinces in India, rape is not illegal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking about a lot of ancient cultural style tribes that it's still thriving in. India protects that. It's part of their country heritage is the freedom to
situation. But to the rest of the world, it's a humanities violation.
Yeah,
in which I agree, it is 100% because actually
if anything, I say study it. Well, study it and see where we came from, from primitive times, because they're behaving exactly the way humans did in primitive times. I mean.
Yeah, it's definitely.
This ain't like studying the Amish. This is studying people that truly live from the land.
If you want to see a good study of, actually, you talked about diseases. Mm-hmm. There's actually a great study that was done, and CGP Grey actually did a video on it called Americapox. Americapox is about the supposedly New World disease that should have affected the Old Worlders. The Old World and everything, but turns out there was only one disease that Old Worlders actually spread, or that New Worlders actually spread to the Old Worlders. You know what that was?
What?
Syphilis. Syphilis did not exist until was not spread worldwide until the natives spread it to the Caucasians.
That makes sense.
And then not only that, but rats. Rats were brought over from the Old World and then infested in here in the New World. Same thing with horses. Horses were also brought over here. Mm-hmm. And he did a study on disease because he said, okay, number one, where do diseases thrive? Do they thrive out in country communes? Not as much.
They thrive here within us.
In the cities. They thrive within cities. The only reason city populations never faltered or dwindled is because more people moved into them than were dying in them. Because when you look at the Black Plague, for instance, in the 1300s, the Black Plague killed 75 million people. It killed 1/3 of the world's population. That is an insane thing to think about. Imagine one day you woke up and all of a sudden,
2 billion people.
Over 2 billion people are dead. Yeah. Just like that. In 4 years.
Thanos snapped.
Oh, pretty much. It's like instead of killing half, I only kill 1/3. I am the Black Plague.
That'd be funny. You do that, you're like, good enough.
Fair enough, yeah. But overall, man, I mean, you look at, well, he did a study showing that the reason why the natives were so decimated whenever the settlers came over, it wasn't because they killed, well, they did kill. I mean, you look at what Cortez did. What Cortez did was atrocious.
I also heard that we had never heard of malaria before that, too.
Yeah, the disease killed like 9-10 of the population.
90% of the population.
I heard that malaria decimated huge part of the South, too.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it did. Malaria swept through like a freaking, literally like a plague. Yeah. And just, like, the Incans and the Mayans just couldn't handle it. And it just destroyed them.
Man, I hate it when they got to Paris Island. They discovered that swamp of sand fleas and mosquitoes. Oh man!
There you go.
But anyways, I can see people died from that quick.
Speaking of India, it looks like they're might be getting into war with Pakistan here. I'm not sure how that's going.
Hold on. No, I don't hear anything. I think hell froze over. Oh, wait.
Yep.
Oh, wait. We've been expecting that now, what, for the last 50, 60
years?
No,
but, like, apparently, like, Pakistan just shot down a couple of Indian jets and stuff. And
well, prepare, ladies and gentlemen, for another holy war. Yeah. Because Pakistan, which is deeply Muslim, and India, which is, for the most part, deeply Hindu, and
they've generally hated each other since the Brits left.
Oh yes.
Like back in the day, everybody just hated the British that colonized them, but then as soon as they fucked off, then it was kind of like, all right, now we hate each other.
Well, yeah.
Isn't it funny how we can lightly talk about other countries' wars? I mean,
oh no!
You know, it's like Team India, Team Pakistan.
Well, no, I don't. Well,
yeah, I mean, it's became a very cynical thing.
Yeah. Well, I am completely anti-illogical war. Like for me, Vietnam was an illogical war. The Persian Gulf War, for the most part, was an illogical war.
Yeah.
The War on Terror, for the most part, an illogical war. World War II, completely freaking logical. Completely logical.
Oh yeah, you were stopping the bad guys.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean,
whereas nowadays, it's mostly culture wars and stuff like that. Like when I read about the Rwandan genocide, and when I read about humanitarian violations like that, where over 1 million people are slaughtered, not with guns, but with machetes and farm equipment.
Yeah, chemical warfare too.
Chemical warfare. That's another thing. Like for me. Whenever a fight is necessary, I always look for branches of communication. Whenever the communication lines break down between countries, that is when mistakes are made, logical mistakes are made, and the people always pay for it. Not the people in power, the people.
Oh, no.
They always pay for it. They always pay for it in blood.
That one line in it was Linkin Park. I forget what the song's called, but one of them where it's like when the rich wage war, it's the poor who die.
Yeah. Well, and also BYOB by System of a Down. Why do they always send the poor? And War Pigs by Black Sabbath. It was they're the ones who started the war, making war just for fun. Mm-hmm. They leave their old to the poor and all that. It's just.
I mean, I understand the reasoning behind why. Yeah, as far as why America intervened in Vietnam back then, it was the height of the Cold War. You got to stop them.
Yeah, you got to stop the spread of communism.
But also, at that point, the United States hadn't really fought a war like that against a guerrilla force.
No, against an insurgency, like we talked about.
I mean, it was kind of new territory, and I think we're a lot better equipped for that kind of stuff these days.
But. We are, but the truth is, our biggest one nowadays with insurgencies is the War on Terror. Mm-hmm. We trained a lot of the people who did a lot of the training for ICBMs and stuff like that. We were the ones who taught them a lot of that stuff. I mean, Osama bin Laden and his crew were trained by the U.S. government to fight the Russians. And then whenever they wanted to turn against us, and they did, they used a lot of our tactics.
No, I mean, things like when fucking Iraq and Iran, we gave them a whole shit ton of U.S. military equipment.
Yeah, we did.
If you guys want to know something about Afghanistan, I was actually there for 9 months.
Really?
Yes, I was. That was my first and only tour I did.
Hey.
We were left completely in the dark almost 98% of the time. When we have a mission, we got those mission orders, we fulfilled it, and then left. So obviously we talk. Everybody talks. Everybody wants to know why we're there, what we're doing, and it's a big jumbled mess of what the commander says. What the command says is what's happening, so we're kind of forced to believe that because that's our only access to any outside information. We don't speak their language. They got quite a few different dialects of language there, so you're not going to have buddies when they have the Afghani police that are Green Berets pretty much, for the Army's Green Berets pretty much train the Afghani police to build armies to fight against these small insurgencies. But when the crime, i.e. the terrorists, are more powerful than the police department, for example, I'm just putting this in logical terms, you don't have a choice. And when it comes to people's families getting slaughtered just for talking to the insurgents, i.e. us, because we're the aliens at that point in time, they cannot fight against AK-47s, machine guns, and missiles because they will blow up their entire villages. So the people, as you're saying, in a rich war right here, or this point a religious war over top of it, they're defenseless, and they don't have even a population to withstand against the Taliban.
Yeah.
The harder truth is we're trying to bring a lot of Western values to an area that is as far as democracy. The first, as I understand, the first few elections that we tried to run in Afghanistan didn't go so great because people just didn't understand the concept.
No, they don't.
Of democracy.
Because
they're a tribal society.
Well, their people do not really care about political values, from what I understand. Now, there's a lot of people out there that will basically crucify me for saying this, but I really don't care. They don't understand what a government is. You realize these people are farmers. That's all they've ever known. That's all they ever will know. They know how to grow farming. They make almonds. All right, almonds is a big deal. They don't have an education system. There's no school systems. There's no ABCs to them. There's no 1, 2, 3s. There's no general understanding of hardly anything.
Their government kind of boils down to like the clan leader or the
town elder.
The elders.
It is very much a very primitive society and early, very broken fundamental basics of society. So, to say that the war is pointless, I disagree with. But do I say a war is pointless? I don't see much of a war. I see it as a evolution of a society in a broken home that is a desert where the villages don't communicate with each other and no one's coming together. And to me, the only thing that will solve this thing is time and education.
Yeah.
If you can educate these people, over time it will get better. Other than that, a war isn't going to stop it. It's not. All you can do, you can protect the people as much as you can, and eventually there will be an awareness of it. But you were talking about something that will easily take 3 or 4 generations to even start seeing a result of a civilization that works and defend itself against its own people. You look at how long it took
Europe to get its shit together.
Yeah.
And you look at the countless wars.
Look at the United States.
Well, yeah.
Look at the United States. We had a major war with each other. Our own state.
Yeah.
Our own country.
Well, yeah.
Sorry, I said that. But
I get that. And you look at what happened. You look at what happened, the amount of life lost, and the lessons learned. And look, 100 years later, things were a lot better.
Yeah.
And they're continuously getting better.
Yeah.
And
I just don't see violence solving the long-term issue. It solves temporary battles, yes, and it does protect the public. But a long-term solution, because there is no short-term solution to terrorism, it will always exist.
True.
As long as humans are humans, they're never going to be perfect, and you got radicals and extremists like anything else. From all over the world. We're more connected now than anything. So if we can bring that connection to connect to those people, then they can actually see what the rest of the world is like and how great it truly is.
Mm-hmm.
So in my aspects, less war, more education. And I think that will.
But at the same time, how are those poor weapons industries going to make all their money?
Oh, well, I guess they're just going to shit on luck.
I guess they're just going to have to depend on
they'll just throw a couple $1 million at politicians.
I'm not an anti-gun person, but if I could snap my fingers and rid the entire world of guns and weapons, and I would do it. Because, to be honest, I don't know. It's too late in our country to stop weapons and everything, and I don't believe that taking away the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms is a correct solution for it, or taking away anybody's guns for that matter, because the government is just as much as a terrorist as anybody else if you don't control it. If the people are not in control, that you've got a dictatorship that can easily,
Well, yeah, and for me, I always fall back. I know there's people out there who don't like him, but he said something to Piers Morgan, and I don't like Piers Morgan that much. Yeah. I find him to be an obnoxious prick.
He's funny. But
well, he can be funny. But
he's very obnoxious.
But he can be an obnoxious prick, too. But Ben Shapiro said something to him, and it was Ben defending the Second Amendment. And he was just like, Ben, why do you fear a potential tyrannical government? He's like, you know why? Because my great grandparents didn't fear a tyrannical government, and that is now why they are ashes in Europe. Which,
well, look at the, as you said earlier, World War II.
Yeah.
What do you call that government?
I call that pure tyrannical.
Okay.
Like pure,
and that's what we fought against.
Yes.
So, what makes you think for 1 second, since money owns the power, that our government could not do the same? I mean, it would be a lot harder right now because we've got more people. It would be very difficult now. But look back at the World War II times. If this was 1942, could they have done something then?
Well, he probably could have, because truth is, we're so well connected now, and information
it's
can
too late
spread
now.
so fast.
Yeah.
Well, you think of like the whole Japanese internment.
That
would be something that would be much more difficult now. And obviously, I know we have the whole immigration.
Micah
down the border.
Y'all remember Micah? Micah actually, he's a quarter Japanese. He had family members who were put in internment camps because of that. I think his grandmother was thrown in.
But that's the thing. That's the nice thing that we have as far as keeping that from happening too. Is that is one of the better aspects I do like about the availability of mass communication and social media and stuff, is that everybody can kind of connect to everyone else now, and we're not dependent solely on what fucking corporate media bullshit feeds into our ears.
Yeah.
With a very nice tight agenda of what they want to say. We have the ability to hear a lot of opinions, from all kinds of different sources, and some of them are they're gonna spew their own extremist nonsense, and no matter what side it's coming from, but I think part of that is, I like to think of that as, again, I know we talked about this before, I think that's what makes us a stronger nation as far as unity wise, because at the end of the day, the United States has we're a very proud culture to some degree.
We are,
whether we're coming from New York City or Alabama or California. We're all fucking Americans.
The one thing, they actually did a survey in terms of like aptitude tests. Mm-hmm. Americans scored the highest in confidence. Americans tested the highest in terms of confidence, and I understand that. I understand why, because here in this country, we are the 600-pound gorilla. We are the lone superpower that is left in the world. And we have so much at our disposal and so much opportunity. And the truth is, people who are born here are blessed in such a way that it's actually baffling. Because I heard someone the other day complaining about their life, about how tough it was and this and that. And I'm like, and me, I'm not one to... I didn't interject or anything like that. I mean, what a person says or does is their own business. But me, I thought to myself, imagine if that person were actually born in, say, I don't know, say they were born in Angola, or say they were born in in the middle of Rwanda during the
your internet going down for 2 days is not your main problem.
No, it's a first world problem that people just need to realize that honestly we're blessed, man. We are blessed in so many ways, and it can always be better. Things can always get better. I believe that.
But what I think makes us stronger as a country is the U.S. is still very much a melting pot of a lot of cultures from around the world, which is cool, and it brings gives us a lot of different perspectives, and that's why I do like, even though our discourse currently can be toxic to some degree, and there can be a lot of misinformation that goes into it. I do like that we're not a homogenous society where everybody thinks a very certain, like the same way in a similar aspect.
No, leave it
because
to Beaver.
There is an efficiency plus to that to some degree, but you lack the adaptability because you're not able to bring different ideas to the table when you run into a challenge like climate change or something.
Well, yeah, and me, I see how the world used to be in the 50s and the early 60s, and then the culture shift happened. The big culture shift that actually opened the doors to a lot of people and to the future. It actually opened a lot of people's minds up to the potential idea that I don't have to live the life that is put in front of me by my parents, or I don't have to get married and have kids whenever, at this time or anything like that. But at the same time, it caused a lot of irresponsibility. Yeah. You see, the burgeoning of irresponsibility that happened throughout the 60s and 70s when birth control became a lot more prevalent and when promiscuity pretty much peaked. And then that invited in the 80s a whole bunch of problems whenever the AIDS virus came into effect. And you see that a lot of people call that a humanity equalizer, because after that all went down, a lot of the things calmed down throughout the 90s when in terms of promiscuity and stuff like that. But it's picking back up again, and now that's why you're seeing teenage pregnancies now at an all-time high. You know why I think we're seeing teenage pregnancies at an all-time high? Because Teen Mom is on, and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, if I get pregnant at like 14, I can have a TV show.
I can be a celebrity."
Yeah, exactly. And you see, that to me is nonsensical too.
To me, that just comes with a lack of education and responsibility of your sexual consequences. Well, I mean, that's just kind of what that goes into.
Number one, I believe in sexual education. I do, 100%. I think people should be aware of what the human body has to offer. And
well, I don't think they understand the seriousness of pregnancy.
They don't.
You are bringing a new life into this world, and there's a ton of financial responsibility and a life change, because of it.
Hopes and dreams that you have, might as well,
they're on the back burner.
And that was kind of what was forced down my throat. Growing up was like, look, if you think you want to be a filmmaker, you want to be a director, you want to do this and that, if you have kids, pack that up, because the next 18 years, you're going to be tension on that child, which, that's not always true for some. Some people can balance their career.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already in that kind of situation with, stable with that sort of career, then you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, if you're...
that's why I'm just talking about the problems in education toward it. If the teens would see that seriousness of it, I think a lot of times they would take the extra moment to take precautions, to not get pregnant. And of course, that has a lot to do with our economy too, and how it impacts and negative effects of our economy too. Of course, obviously, to some people see it as a benefit from getting government paid, pretty much getting a paycheck every month for a child. It's... Well, some people use that to their advantage, too.
Well, they do, and they keep popping out children thinking, oh, more money for me. In which, hey, are those kids actually being raised? I don't know. Aren't they your kids? Yeah. Shouldn't you be raising them? But I got money to spend. It's like, okay.
Yeah, some people are just not strong-willed like the rest of us.
There's actually an argument made that you actually should obtain a license in order to be able to actually have children.
Yeah, but that's not the way humanity
I don't believe in that. But at the same time, I'm just like,
that feels a little too federation-y.
That does me too. That does me too.
But we are in a overpopulation crisis almost.
Well,
I mean, we're
birth rates have been going nowhere but down.
Yeah,
like birth rates are actually going down. However, the amount of
that's why crisis is kind of like I don't know about the term example crisis, but kind of.
No,
I mean,
yeah, that's a good thing. I mean, honestly, our birth rates going down and is as far as this.
That's a good thing.
That's given me a lot more hope because I was afraid we were just going to overpopulate ourselves to death.
And that's one of my theories of the end of the Earth is Earth is so overpopulated that we take Earth away, pretty much as far as resources. But now we have literally hacked the Earth with GMOs, even though there's a lot of people who hate GMOs, into feeding more people.
Yeah. Well, and obviously medicine has gotten a lot more effective. Even in third world countries, they have a lot more access to the medicine. And
number one, access to clean water.
Yeah, the reason there's a lot of that population is coming from like India and a lot of African countries is because they're still in a third world position where the medicine is getting better, but they haven't really adapted to that no longer having that attrition rate they have to deal with as far as losing 4 out of 7 kids along the way.
Yeah.
And so they haven't fully adjusted that. Now in a couple hundred years, obviously, I think that everything will be more stabilized around the world.
People don't have to have families of kids as their slaves to survive.
But like I just saw, I just saw a thing
to break it down short.
I just watched a thing a couple of days ago, from China Uncensored. They're talking about robots, like sex robots, or whatever, being designed in China. In my mind, I'm thinking that's actually a fucking brilliant idea because that's probably the most humane way to bring down overpopulation. So if you have people that it's gonna help in the long term, help with overpopulation, but in the short term, it's gonna keep a lot of people from fucking committing suicide and stuff from like loneliness or stress from from just a bunch of stuff. And I think it could kill a lot of birds with one stuff.
Also there was an injection that they talked about. Actually, there's an injection that can be done to actually pretty much kill all active sperm, and then you can have another shot done to where it will actually reactivate your sperm sensory or your sperm system, and it'll enable you to actually have children. Now they have ran into issues where the men have received the injection to kill it, but then when they got the injection to have it turned back on, it didn't work.
Yeah,
now for me, I think if they could get that perfected, that'll solve a lot of the issues too, because that won't solve the STD issue because hey, you go out shooting hot loads, guess what? That's gonna mess up everybody. But if you can prevent the overpopulation, if you can prevent pregnancies, and thus securing people actually being able to plan for their futures and not have to worry about stuff like that. I mean, even if you're 100 like me. Okay, my dad gave me a pep talk when I was about 15. He looked me dead in the eye.
I think you've told us this.
Yeah, he looked me dead in the eye, and he's just like, I can't tell you not to do it, but if you get a girl pregnant, you stand by her. If you don't, I'm gonna find you, and I'm gonna beat your ass.
That's probably the third or fourth time you've done this.
No. I've actually had the same talk by my mom actually.
Yes.
I mean,
and I believe.
I guess I was.
But that put the fear of God in me.
As far as sex education in school, school didn't teach me a damn thing about sex education.
Shit.
Nothing. There was no pep talk. There was no babies are expensive.
No, I think it it was. I think it's more.
And of course, and I think it's a choice though too. I mean, if you're in an age where you say, "Hey, my dream is to have a family. I want kids," absolutely, by all means, it's fine. But accidental pregnancies are
reality.
90% of pregnancies. I mean,
they're dream killers.
Yeah, and sadly, I mean, in an economic state, they kind of are dream killers. Because life is hard. Life is very difficult, and chasing your dreams is very hard. Sometimes, depending on what your dream is.
Yeah.
And that's a big change in your plans for 18 years,
And one of the talking points still like that way you can talk about like the birth rate crisis that people don't like is because it's that'll hurt our economy because then we won't have as many young people coming into the market to support all the elderly people. But when you pair our decreasing population coming in exactly right as everything is transitioning into automation all the manual labor shit that's going to be automated in the next 20, 30 years. It's absolutely perfect.
Well, Amazon's getting replaced by robots right now.
Well, then there's also the in terms of automation, there's a lot of automation that's already here that makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, scooter chairs, for people who are handicapped, who are able to use their upper body still and use a wheelchair, it's a lot cheaper now to buy one of those. It's cheaper now than it's ever been to get one of those to where you can just ride around your house and you don't have to depend on somebody to roll you around when your arms get tired. My grandfather actually got one, but yet he he actually still wanted to just roll with his arms because he loved that feeling of independence. Mm-hmm. But most people out there don't care. Most people, as long as they can get from point A to point B. And there's also the lifts that they have now to where people can just roll up into them and they can hit a button and it'll take them up the stairs. It's like a little platform thing that they get on.
Yeah, and it's kind of what we have here in this school. We have like a little elevator thing for handicap, but we can't get it to work, unfortunately.
Well,
pretty cool though.
But yeah, and they have automation that solves a lot of the issues for people who are handicapable. And I'm glad about that. I'm glad that the installation of ramps has become a common
it's mandatory on a lot of establishments. Any government establishment is mandatory that it has an on-ramp system.
Yeah.
Obviously, handicapped people wouldn't be able to pay their tickets without it. They wouldn't be able to pay their speeding tickets. But depending on what kind of handicap and stuff like that, most handicapped people, depending on what it is, can't even get a license anyway. But to go to a courthouse to be summoned, it's mandatory in a lot of establishments, and a lot of corporations follow this too. Walmart is a big one of it. Every Walmart is supposed to have a certain standards of handicap accessible, setups, and I think McDonald's has one. It's become more accessible than we realize now. Of course, the people that are handicapped notice it really well,
Oh, yeah.
When it's an issue to them. But, it's glad to see that we've came to a modern world that we have that. And, as much as this generation right now likes to completely just bitch about everything, I don't think they realize how good we got it right now.
No, they don't. They don't, and
I don't think the world realizes how good they've got it right now.
If
everybody in the world could see that right now, it would change everything.
Well, a lot of the things that I went through in my early life. Me not experiencing the internet until I was a lot older than normal. I pretty much during a lot of the winter, whenever our power went out, which was a lot back then. We pretty much all had to huddle together in the living room and just live next to the kerosene heater and actually cook food off the top of the kerosene heater.
Damn.
And dude, it was.
How about you? You're immune to the smell of kerosene, aren't you?
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
But also just learning that you can accomplish many great things if you just put your mind to it and you actually do stuff. And my dad taught me, he's just like, nothing almost ever comes together the first time doing something, unless like by some miracle you're just an expert at it by the moment you pick it up. Nothing's ever going to work out for you the first time you do something. It takes work, it takes practice, and it takes you getting every time you get knocked down, you got to get back up, because life's just going to move on without you if you don't. And he was right, because I sat on my ass for like a good 5 years just not doing anything. After I pretty much had given up on the college experience and everything, I floated around in college until I was about 22 or 23. But outside of going to class, I really didn't do anything else after that, because I just got sick of partying because I had nothing but bad experiences after a set amount of time. And I pretty much sat in my mom's basement for 5 years, and then when I was around 25 or 26, I was just like, you know what? I'm not happy, man. I'm not happy. Why am I doing this? Why am I sitting in my room? And then I remember my mom's face whenever I actually came out and asked if there was something I could do to help. The look on her face was like sort of like a panic. She was just like,
"Are you okay,
Nate?
Are you feeling
what's wrong?"
well?
And I'm like, "Oh, nothing, Mom. I just wanted to come up here and help you do some stuff." And she was just like, yeah, if you'll, go pick up the puppy pads down there at the end of the hall." I'm like,
Yep.
Okay.
Move a muscle, change a thought.
Yeah.
And that's literally what that is. I mean,
just actually
get up and go do something.
It's because, and there was also a video, CGP Grey actually did another one on it called 7 Ways to Maximize Your Misery. And it says, do the opposite of these. Trust me. Number one, stay in the same room. Like if anything, stay in the same place. Like if your computer is on your desk, bring it to your bed. If your TV is at the other side of the room, bring it beside your bed. If your phone is on the opposite side of the room, bring it beside your bed. Pretty much be an equivalent to a pile of laundry in your room. Number two. Actually, there were several he went over, but another one that he said that I realized I was doing, and I actually had to stop myself, was set impossible goals for yourself. Don't do a step-by-step, just said, I will, like, for instance, if I were to say this morning when I woke up, I am going to clean the entire house today.
So Mike Root says, we're getting to Wally territory now. Yeah, we're definitely going to Wally. Have you seen Wally?
Oh, yeah.
We're in floating chairs.
You remember all the people that like in the little wheelchairs and just got their food and their TVs and they just swipe next for it. They don't do anything, but you just get so fat they can't even walk and they die.
How they talk to is like, I'm tired of having to tell you the same thing. It's like, you're tired from talking. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, seriously, there's two sides of the coin. I think if we have a completely war-free, non-violent world where world peace, then it's just going to become the war of words, which is what most of, society seems to be now. I mean it's
we're
just,
mostly we're in that sense. I mean, there's since World War II there hasn't really
there ain't been nothing to really bitch about too much. So people's just bitching about the piddly stuff right now, which I'd rather them do that than.
And even like I said, the whole India Pakistan shit, that's not actually going to go to war. There's no economic benefit really to go into the war because countries don't conquer other countries anymore. There's no.
I think the media wants it too, that way they can film it and live broadcast it to the rest of the world and make money.
That's all it is. It's a rating.
And that's why you hear stuff like headlines say, India and Pakistan possibly at war. I mean, those big headlines out there just pulling the ratings.
NBC. Is Trump the cause of the war in India and Pakistan? I'm like, no.
And Pakistan's reading these headlines like, wait a minute, to what? We're going to war with India? We're like,
what?
It's kind of like, what's going on?
It's like, I don't think so. And they always use the term, according to inside reports. By inside reports, they're just talking to like, hey, man, are India and Pakistan going to war? I think so. Perfect.
Yeah, I mean,
that's it.
When you get day one news, it's not even day one news of just a misinterpreted sentence by some of the people. It's all of a sudden headline news. Yeah. Here you go. It reminds me of the guy off the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And he was like, Spider-Man terrorizes the city. And it's like, wait a minute. And that's kind of how I see it. And it's a
real thing.
It's a real thing. Yeah.
If anything, I mean, you find that all over the place, man. You find the spread of misinformation everywhere. It's like on Facebook, I saw this one story that one of my friends was sharing. It was about this woman. It showed a picture of this woman being tackled onto the ground and being held down by like 3 or 4 cops. And all of a sudden, there was a little thing up above that said this woman was held down and beat by the police. And she suffered a broken jaw, and this was all over a busted taillight. Turns out this woman actually pulled out a knife, stabbed an officer.
Yeah, I'm trying to run.
And they had to
I've seen a lot of videos like that too.
Yeah, they actually had to pull the knife. They actually had to get the knife away from her. So they tackled her on the ground, got it away from her, and she actually bit one of the officers. So he punched her in the face to make her turn loose.
Yeah.
So honestly, the spread of misinformation is a real thing.
Happens quick. Yeah.
No, it happens real fast.
If you've ever taken a communications class, buddy, they tell you about.
All it takes is one mislead.
Yep.
And guess what? Even if you tell people that, this isn't the real story or this and that, they've already made up their mind half the time. They've already made up their mind on, I heard it from this news source, so therefore it's true. And like, no. Always consider multiple sources before you make up your mind.
But not everybody thinks like that.
No,
so
it's because it's
the first thing they hear is what they talk about. That's what they believe.
Well, yeah, it's the groupthink mentality. Whenever you go to the groupthink mentality, it's just like, how do you feel about this?
Herd basically conformity. In an echo chamber.
Yeah, yes. Herd conformity.
Yes.
Which seems to be a common thing even in the video game talks. These, there's probably like 1,000 video game, probably more than that, probably like hundreds of thousands of video game streams going on right now that are talking about a lot of different things, and opinions are everywhere, but you also have misinformation that has spiraled, and by the time it reaches you, the consumer on the internet, seeing this, you might be getting completely false information. And how do you tell if you're getting true information? Well, there's not really one method. All you can do is triangulate, which means multiple sources, and then try to see which ones point in the direction. And typically, if they all line up with reading the fine print, then maybe leading somewhere. Science discoveries are the same way too. I'm sure you guys have all seen on the social media headlines and stuff. Scientists prove this, or scientists say that, or scientists can't figure this. They seem to throw jabs at scientists all the time because scientists live on the boundary of what is known and unknown, and typically they're right on the unknown 99% of the time.
Scientists contradict the religious mumbo jumbo that has been pushed for thousands of years.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, college students as scientists aren't technical scientists. Just because they're in a science college and this as scientists studies show, it doesn't mean that. I've been a part of college statistics before, and that stuff is not right.
Don't believe consensus either half the time, because consensus used to determine that phrenology was a legitimate scientific study.
Yeah.
And guess what? Phrenology was bullshit. Turns out it's not the interior of the human skull that determines human thought. Turns out it's these little waves that are going through one's brain and firing between little receptors. Yeah, and whenever you hear, well, by consensus, this is like, look, I understand that there are certain things that are incontrovertible truths. In terms of how we understand it, the way physics works. In terms of the way physics works and how we understand it, energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change form.
But even that Einstein, he had to push against the consensus of Newtonian thought on gravity physics and everything.
Well, of course, when he introduced general relativity, it threw everything that Newton had.
People started rethinking the world after that, as far as scientists go.
But he had to push against the.
He had to fight that for a while.
Understanding and stuff like that.
It took an entire every physicist at the world was challenging that, trying to prove it wrong for many years, and still didn't really prove it wrong.
Which is how science should work.
Yeah.
It should, experiment to death to see if something works or it doesn't.
Yeah. Well, and for me, the number one thing that they actually proved one of Einstein's theories of relativity in terms of time dilation. You know how they proved it? What they did was they took two watches, they synced them up at the exact same time. They were both running at the exact same time. Sorry, it's this way for y'all. So they were both running at the exact same time. And then they put one of them on a jet airplane, and they flew it around the world completely, nonstop around the world. And you know what they showed? They showed that the one was actually ahead now by a little bit.
Yeah, they got to get extremely fast to do that, and typically to do that, it has to be, I think, above subsonic levels will take out 0.0000% of the second, which is, hardly, it's not noticeable by the naked eye right away. But typically they have to get toward the speed of light to see that difference. But once they got, because they redid that exact same experiments, I think, like 40-something different ways with different instruments. And including, because the first pass of that kind of failed, And once it failed was because they couldn't get the jets fast enough to get a noticeable by human eye delay. Now, once they slowed it down with the computer, they seen that it delayed, but everybody was like, well, we still can't see that with the human eye, so it's not relative to the project. But once they slowed this down, and once they put a couple of items inside of a machine, and they were accelerating particles so fast that they could actually have the machine measure positive, negative, and then the time dilation was so different once it got so fast. Yeah. I mean, you had to have a computer to see it because humans just can't see it.
No.
But, you know, they've tried this multiple times, and it has not failed yet.
Apparently they're looking at a proposal for an upgrade to the Hadron Collider, whatever, that's like 27.
Oh, CERN?
27 miles long. They're proposing like a 100-mile circumference one, or whatever, like that. It's
good.
Called the NASA circular one. At some point, we're just going to have...
You have one that goes around the Earth.
Yeah,
around the Earth. But, dude, just think of what you could discover if you had that, though.
Well, imagine if we had a Dyson Sphere. I mean, a Dyson Sphere or even a Scarinth ring world that could supply something like that.
Get to that level 3 Kardashev scale.
Yeah.
Fucking society.
Effectively, yeah. I mean...
Or no, that'd be level 2.
Have I told you all about my favorite historical what if of all time? The Greek steam toy. Have I told you all about that?
No, yeah, I've seen a few alternate history. Like, what if the Romans had like actually moved forward with steam power and stuff, like take that invention further.
Yeah, back in ancient Greece, there was a toy. What it was a little globe that had 2 jets, one firing this way, one firing that way. And they discovered that whenever they they put water inside of it and they heat it up, it would cause it to spin. It would cause it to shoot steam in opposite directions and would cause it to spin. Now, imagine if they would have looked at that and said, what if we actually applied this to other things? What if we actually applied this to, say, I don't know.
A railroad.
Yeah, a railroad. What if we actually put this on a cart that actually spun the wheels around? It's like, all of a sudden, here we have the Industrial Revolution 2,000 years before it happened.
They actually found the hieroglyphics that they believe were signs or storytelling of steam engine, or not steam engine, but steam use of certain items. But it was very few hieroglyphics found, and they have no proof that was steam or anything.
Yeah.
But some people, to hear the History Channel say it, aliens, that they believe that was a UFO, and some people's like, no, that has to be steam. Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I'm a Nat Geo fan. National Geographic
that's more
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's
when the History Channel has officially done 10 2012 videos within a span of 3 years. I'm just like, guys, are y'all just desperate for just for the idiots out there? Turns out they were. That's all they were doing. They were just.
Oh, I think they're more focused on entertainment than they are education, which is like Viking, for example. Big fan of Vikings, by the way. Yeah. Vikings is an awesome show. Can't wait to see actually what happens next in it. I mean, and what I'm watching is history, but is in a form of entertainment. To where I don't feel like I'm watching a history documentary. I am actually seeing events unfold. Now, of course, they're dramatized for entertainment purposes and totally get, but I'm cool with it because they haven't. I mean,
they haven't strayed off.
They have not strayed off to the path of seeing history unfold pretty quickly.
Yeah, and there's actually the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, which is in the news now because it won several awards, including Best Actor. The man who played Freddie Mercury, Rami Malek, actually won Best Actor at the Oscars. There were several historical inaccuracies in that film. Number one, with the timeline. The timeline that they used in the film doesn't match up with the actual events, and also they made it look like in the movie that Queen actually broke up when Queen actually didn't. Queen actually
Yeah, I've actually watched a couple documentaries on that, but I have not seen the movie yet. Believe it or not, I know it's like blasphemy for me because I'm a big rock and roll fan, rock and roll history and metal fan, and I haven't seen it yet. I mean, something's up, but it's on DVD
it's
now.
It's really good. I can recommend it big time because even though it's not as accurate, the feeling and like the performances.
Yeah, I saw a side by side of the real performance and live action. It was spot on.
Yeah,
like camera angle for camera
not just
angle.
Rami Malek. I shouldn't say just Rami Malek. The entire band does tremendous work, including Joseph Mazzelio. You probably don't remember him. You've seen Jurassic Park, right?
Oh yeah.
Remember Timmy, the little kid?
Yeah.
He plays John Deacon.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Joseph Mazzelio. He plays John Deacon. And me, I'm just I was just like, Timmy?
Have I seen Jurassic Park?
Yeah, it's like, Timmy? And like all of a sudden my brain was just like, holy crap, he was in this. Holy crap, he was in Social Network too. I forgot about that.
Steven Spielberg's like one of my idols, you know.
Yeah.
That's a director.
Yeah.
It's like that man's a legend.
Of course.
I mean, nobody could trash talk on him right now. I mean, that guy's produced and directed more blockbuster hits than I think, like,
I would say
in history. I mean,
I'd say the only one who actually holds a candle to him is Cameron.
Not as many, not as near as many, but
Cameron is very successful in the very few movies.
He's only done. Let's see.
Well, he owns pretty much
Christopher
the top
Nolan's
two.
Good too.
Yeah.
Well,
as far as newer directors, like Christopher Nolan now has been kicking ass.
Nolan.
I think he's getting ready to be one of those legends of. To me, he's on the Cameron level now.
Dunkirk was a jaw-dropping experience.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't seen it yet. I bought the movie for.
Like, I don't even like Batman, but watching the Batman movies, I was jaw-dropped. I was like, this movie was awesome.
Yeah, very well filmed. Very
yeah.
Well. And I want to whenever I also. He's not really new, but he's a lot younger than he's actually closer to Chris Nolan's age than Spielberg and Scorsese.
I just don't remember hearing about Christopher Nolan when I was younger, growing up with movies. So
I remember his first film I ever watched of his was Insomnia.
Okay, I remember that
with Al Pacino and Robin Williams. Turns out his first film, Memento was actually.
So I never saw that one.
That one was wicked because it takes place. It's got a man who actually suffers from short-term memory loss. Not only that, but he can't form new memories, and he has all these tattoos that tell him stuff to do in the mirror, and he also gets all these little clues and stuff along the way, and he's trying to figure out this mystery on that he really doesn't know what the mystery. He doesn't even know what the full mystery is, and how the film ends is just like what, and then of course. Bryan Singer actually has done great work as well. The Usual Suspects, which is to me, that's a hell of a first big Hollywood debut right there.
Yeah,
and of course for me, probably my favorite director right now is David Fincher. I mean,
David Fincher. Cinematography wise, he's definitely one of the best.
Yeah,
I'd say he has the best cinematography. I mean, if you've ever watched, as a cinematographer, I'd notice good cinematography. And I was watching a girl with a dragon tattoo, and oh man,
him and Jeff Cronenweth had before Jeff, it was John, Jeff's father. But then when John Cronenweth died of heart failure, I think it was heart failure. But after that, when Jeff Cronenweth came and took over for his dad. Him and Fincher have been working together since 1996.
Yeah,
and it's awesome to see how he shapes a shot and how many times he goes through the shot. He's almost Stanley Kubrick level when it comes to the amount of shots, the amount of takes. Holy crap!
Nate Shadow Master Riku 08 is asking, are you looking forward to the Witcher Netflix series starring Henry Cavill?
Yes and no, because hey, they're bringing The Witcher to live action, and no, because
they're bringing The Witcher to live action.
No, not because they're bringing The Witcher to live action, but because video game adaptations, very few exist that are good. I'm hoping that this is going to work. However, I have been disappointed way too many times in the past to just go in with blind optimism.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Max Payne?
Max Payne, visually, there's some interesting stuff in it. And Mark Wahlberg is a good actor. He was not good in that. Mila Kunis, I think she's awesome, but I honestly think she was miscast as Mona Sachs. I thought it could have been a lot. It could have been a lot better. It just, to me, it just fell short of the mark in so many ways.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
I'm trying to think of what a good video game adaptation movie that I've seen.
I can really only think of one that I liked as a kid, but as an adult, I've grown less and less. I've grown less and less liking of it. Mortal Kombat. That's really it. I loved it as a kid, but as an adult, I'm just like, that's stupid. Why'd they do that?
I've watched those movies 1,000 times, and they're not great movies. They're nostalgic for me, so I have nostalgia for them. But yeah, they're not really the greatest movies, especially Annihilation. It had some very cheesy, bad CGI, and pretty bad acting, and the cast change from the first one was a little nuts. I was still a big fan of the movies, though. I don't know why. It's just one of those...
Actually,
when you grow up with something, it's a little different than watching it now. It's like, for example, if you was to go back and watch Pokemon right now, you would probably be like, what the fuck am I watching? You'd be like, why am I watching this? But me, I can look back upon it and go, you know what?
Okay.
Kids really enjoy this, and I enjoyed it as a kid. So, I'm glad to see franchises like that thrive and keep going and bring smiles to... And fun, I mean...
So, the thing is, I've never really had a problem with the Resident Evil movies.
Oh, God.
That's mainly just because I never really played the games, so...
No, alright, so first of all, if you've never played the games, never watched the movies, play the games, don't watch the movies.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
Don't waste your time. No, just don't even try.
I mean, I kind of gave up on watching the movies after, the fourth or fifth one.
No, no, I hope not. I mean, if they're still making one, I hope not. And I don't care if they hear me say this or not.
Okay, I'm looking at all of the. I'm looking at all the video game they have a list of 43 here. Let's go. You know what?
Let's do it.
Let's start from the bottom and work our way up. Number 43, Postal.
Never saw
it. Terrible. There's going to be a name that you're going to hear a lot when it comes to directors on this list. Uwe Boll. Have you ever heard of him?
Have not.
He is a German film director who is obsessed, quote, obsessed with making bad movies. It's almost an art form for him, making a bad film.
Sounds like Bollywood.
Oh, God. Okay, next up, Alone in the Dark. Yet again, another Uwe Boll film.
I saw that in theaters when it was in theaters. I enjoyed it as a kid, but I watched it again later on. Oh, it was awful. Yep.
Does that have anything to do with the fucking game?
Nope. No, it was just a vehicle for Christian Slater to look like a badass, even though he looked like a...
Like, they were like
terrible.
the only thing I remember for that one was, military was fighting,
I remember they were fighting monsters in a room.
It almost looked like that animated fantasy, Final Fantasy movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, that was not a bad movie. That had nothing to do with Final Fantasy.
The animation on that still holds up.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, that was groundbreaking animation work. Motion, score, everything was good, but it had nothing to do with Final Fantasy. No, yeah. Not a single thing. Next up, the Angry Birds movie that came out in 2016. Never saw it, but I actually heard it was decent. I heard it was cute.
It was okay.
Good kids movie, but no more.
Kids
I only watched it for the animation movie.
All right, next.
Blood Rain, yet another Uwe Boll film.
I have not seen it, so that's a Uwe Boll one too?
Yep, Uwe Boll.
He didn't do Aeon Flux, did he?
No, that was not him.
Okay.
Silent Hill Revelations, the second
one, the one that I fell asleep in.
Yes.
I only saw the first Silent Hill.
Because I waited and waited for shit
to happen. That was actually okay.
I liked the first Silent Hill movie.
I did too.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually pretty good.
Next.
Pokemon Heroes, the 5th Pokemon movie.
Wait a minute, do what? A live-action Pokemon movie already...
animated. And it was an animated Pokemon movie.
Never saw it.
Okay. Max Payne, there it is. It's number 36 on the list. Okay, Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li.
Oh, God.
Holy shit. Both of those films are terrible. Both of them are bad.
I like the girl that just magically pulls magic fire out of her ass at the end of it just because she tries really hard. Yeah. Just she can't get this fire thing, this whole ability. But when she really needs it, she just... and then fire comes out. And it was like, damn, she really pulled that out of her ass.
Quite literally. She probably farted and lit a match. Okay, so next up, Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
I like the movie.
The animation was beautiful in that film. The ideas were beautiful in that film. The execution of the story.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty.
I've
pretty
actually
terrible.
got that on DVD somewhere.
Okay.
I think I got my
Another Pokemon movie, Pokemon Forever. Need for Speed. Yet again, another missed
Never
opportunity.
saw it, but
You
man,
missed-
I was like,
okay, you wasted peak Aaron Paul. How dare you? How freaking dare you? Okay,
Next.
another Pokemon movie. Number 30, Tomb Raider: The Cradle of Life.
Oh no!
Yeah,
Talking about Angelina? Is that you talking about Angelina Jolie? Yeah, that was no.
I like the new one. The new.
Oh, the newer one was actually pretty good.
I'm so glad because Angelina Jolie stained the image of Tomb Raider. Not that it was her fault; she was casted for the role, but that stained the image of Tomb Raider for me for a while until the new games came out for like 360 and up.
Very true.
Then it was like, oh, Tomb Raider's actually badass.
Well,
like
I will say this.
Because I didn't like the games before that.
Well, Angelina Jolie, in terms of casting, in terms of the look of Lara Croft at the time, yeah, pretty accurate casting, actually. Okay, number 29, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the sequel.
I loved it as a kid. Watching it as an adult, nostalgia butterflies still occur, but still I don't enjoy it. It's not a good movie.
True. All right. Hitman, the 2007.
Oh, no.
2007.
Oh, no.
That was a bad movie. I will say this, though. I like Timothy Olyphant, the man who played the Hitman, Agent 47. But it was just such a very shoddily put together film. It didn't flow as a film, I felt.
Wasn't that basically like it was essentially just a clone of the Transporter, wasn't it?
Effectively,
kind of, yeah.
Effectively, except instead he fought other transporters. That's really it.
Next.
Yes, next up, Wing Commander. Oh my god!
I hadn't seen it. I didn't see it.
1999. They tried to make it an action film for Freddie Prinze Jr. You remember Freddie Prinze Jr., pretty guy in a lot of films in like the late 90s, early 2000s. They tried to make it like an action movie vehicle for him, and turns out it was so bad he refused to promote it.
Is it kind of as bad as the Taylor Lautner spinoff after Twilight? He had his own action movie where they faked his own death.
Oh,
and then all the people were coming to get him, but he got this new girlfriend, and he's like, "They're after me. We gotta go." And she's like,
right.
"I'll go with you. Let's go." Yeah, dude, that was the most horrid movie I'd ever seen.
I saw it, and I was just like, okay, number one, the guys who broke into his house and killed his parents. The guy literally tells him, "There's a bomb in the oven," and I'm like, "Why would you what? Huh? Like, where's the logic in that?"
Poor Taylor Lautner, man. Like he became like.
I actually liked him. I actually thought he was the best part of the Twilight film.
Yep.
But Hollywood wasted
He's better than old Shovelface.
Yeah. Oh God. Double Dragon, 1994.
Didn't see the movie. I played the games.
Yeah, the
movie. Love the games.
The movie was bad.
Classic beat 'em up games, great games.
Yeah,
I mean,
but the movie was terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to see a picture for the ages?
No.
Here's them in their pic. Here. Oh, damn it! Look at them in their outfits. Look at those outfits. Looks like
dude, their haircut was so like. I mean, just like they had. Oh my god! That's like the Aaron Carter. That's like the Aaron Carter haircut of the early '90s. I want candy. His little famous cover he had when his face was.
He was at Aaron's house.
He was the Justin Bieber.
You gonna rap about that one time you beat Shaq?
He was the Justin Bieber of the early '90s. He really was.
Him.
Oh god!
I remember him. Okay, next up, House of the Dead, 2003.
I haven't seen that one either.
Another Uwe Boll film. That one thing, Uwe Boll likes to do video game movies. Although he's never done a good one.
I've seen that trend.
Yes. After that, Warcraft in 2016.
God.
Now, I'm on the fence about that one.
Dude.
I thought the CG was incredible. But I thought the acting was very lackluster. Now, the main character, the orc, I thought he was great. I thought the rest of the humans, just how they made
How do you make Travis Fimmel uninteresting?
Exactly.
How do you raise
dude, he was
Here's the thing with that movie. Like I haven't played the game really that much, but
I've played the game for years.
But I know the basics. As far as the general lore, kind of the basics.
Yeah.
I went to that movie, with a friend to watch it, and I have never fallen asleep through a movie before. That one, I fell asleep.
It was pretty boring.
I was out.
Yeah, I didn't have any.
But Legendary Pictures was, I thought, spot on with the CG of it, because it's going to be a heavily CG
of
movie.
Course. Well, it looked good. I think it actually looked better than a lot of the animations.
But whoever the director was didn't do what exactly he needed to do, I guess. Or it was too short. You're talking about a game that has a lore that goes probably 30 books deep. And World of Warcraft expansions over the years, Warcraft 1, 2, and 3. I mean, a lot of deep stuff. I mean, yeah, I've been playing WoW for years. I love it. Big World of Warcraft fan, and Warcraft 3 remake, possibly in the future, be fucking awesome. Yeah. But anyways, the movie just it was a good, solid 5 out of 10 for me. It was like
middle of the road for you.
Yeah, middle of the road.
I gave no fucks about it.
Okay.
I really don't blame you.
All right. Number 23, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time.
I actually liked it as a standalone movie. I thought it was great. As opposed to the games, the story, didn't like it.
Did you play the game?
Yes. Now, I played the games. Now, I'm going to admit this after I watched the movies.
That's where.
Now, that's why I said Prince of Persia as a standalone movie, I thought it was great. As the game series movie, had nothing to do with the rest of the story of Prince of Persia. It really didn't.
I have the game.
It kind of did, but summed up in its own little way.
It's a good game. It's a really good game.
Fuck yeah.
But for me, as a person who bought the games when they came out, like as they came out and played them all the way through religiously, I didn't stop. From
like Sands of Time.
Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and the
I watched my friend play a lot of it, but I didn't pay that much attention at the time when it was out. Yeah. But I heard all about how it was so awesome, so I just had to go back and replay it. And I was like, "Fuck, this is good."
I'd like to do a full playthrough of the entire series for the channel one time.
They don't die like a million times.
Yeah, die and rewind. Actually, that's one thing about the game. You could actually rewind time as you died. You can actually hit the rewind button, and you'll rewind up until the point you died, and then you can redo it and see which way it works.
Just don't run out of sand.
Yeah, just don't run out of sand. You run out of sand, you're done.
Yep.
I might have seen it. I don't know.
It's mostly a puzzle slash platformer.
It's platformer action puzzle game, and it's actually really fun.
It reminds me a lot of gameplay of Zelda. Really. Yeah. I mean, of course, I don't think you've played much of the Zelda.
But the problem that I had with the movie was that number one, they tried to overcomplicate the story instead of telling the story that was in the game, which would have worked. It would have worked if they would have only done it. Yeah. But instead, no, they had to make it a long, convoluted plot about this assassination and stuff like that.
Took the name Prince of Persia off of it and added something else, it would have been great. I mean,
I think it might have came up on Stars or HBO at one point or something. I turned it on. I'm like, okay, I'll play this.
As far as a standalone movie, dude, I mean, I love that fucking movie. I laughed. I mean, it had a badass story to it. It just wasn't nothing to do with the game, pretty much. Yeah. Anyways,
next, actually, 22 is Pokemon 3, the movie, which not going to get into that. 21, In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale. Yet again, another Uwe Boll film.
Never seen it.
Oh, God. It has Jason Statham, Ron Perlman, Ray Liotta, Burt Reynolds.
Good cast.
Matthew Lillard, John Rhys-Davies, and Lily Sobieski. And all of them are wasted on this film because...
How does he keep making the money to keep making more?
Because of the failure, because of insurance. He takes out insurance on it, and thus he profits in some way.
Insurance on it?
Yes.
How does that work?
In Germany, they're very forgiving when it comes to
So you make insurance and say, "Oh man, somebody magically shit all over my movie. I need a refund for all that."
It actually has to release. It actually has to release.
I was just being funny, but that'd be kind of cool.
Okay, number 20, Ratchet and Clank.
I never saw it.
Yeah,
I played the games on that one. But.
Well, Ratchet and Clank was done in 2016, and it was. The company that did the animation was, I believe, a French company, and then they re-released it and redubbed it here in the States. Yeah. And while it maintained a lot of the quirky nature of the games, overall it fell flat because, yet again, rushed storytelling, as seems to be the case in these. Number 19, Tekken, came out in 2010.
Oh God, I ain't seen it, but I could only imagine.
Not good, not good at all. Okay, number 18, Assassin's Creed. You bastards! I hate you.
I haven't seen it because I knew it was too late. I knew it was like bad.
You ruined a perfectly good idea, and you just ran it into the ground all because you wanted to try and appeal to the mass mainstream audiences. Hey, how's about this? You give them something new to enjoy.
I think EA was probably involved in that one.
No, it was Ubisoft.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I figured they'd be right in there going,
here we are. We're getting into the Resident Evil movies. Resident Evil Extinction. Zombie Birds.
Oh, yeah, the Zombie Birds, like the krill.
Out of all of them, that was probably the one I hated the most. Was Extinction, just where they're just fucking in the desert the entire goddamn
Oh, the third one?
Yeah.
Okay, number 16, Resident Evil, the first one.
That one I actually liked.
That one was okay.
It was okay, except for the bad acting and terrible CG. So looking back at it, it's not okay.
Nick shows his disapproval in there by blowing a raspberry.
Well, as a kid, I liked it.
No, I did too. But for me, when I played the game, I was just like, this has nothing to do with the game.
Well,
although I still liked it in some ways.
Mm-hmm. So, again, having not played Resident Evil at all, but I've seen 7 and a little bit of 2 now with the remake. Mm-hmm. So, from my understanding, basically the first and when Resident Evil games start, you're more or less the outbreak has already started, right? Like they're
for the most part.
So,
yes.
There's no real like.
It just started. Like right. And you're a detective trying to figure out what the fuck went down.
Right. So you haven't actually like there's no going into the Armacan or whether Armacan, that's fucking fear. Into the umbrella bunker structure facility.
A certain team did, but you don't do that.
You see it a little bit in Resident Evil 2.
Okay.
And honestly, it's okay, or it's how they did it in the film was way too over designed because how they did the Hive. The Hive is a massive, huge underground structure, right. Whereas the one that you experience in the games later, it's fairly large, but it's not like an entire office building underground. Okay. It's instead an experimentation lab where they have sanitation and all this and all that for maintaining solidarity.
Again, I don't know anything about 3, 4, 5, and 6. So for me, it feels based on what I've seen in 2 and a little bit.
So I'll go ahead and tell you the movies.
It just feels like it's like the movie Resident Evil, the first one.
And Alice doesn't exist inside the games.
No,
she's not a character in the games whatsoever.
Although the red dress that she does wear in the first film is a callback to Ada Wong, who was in the second game.
Got it.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, so, okay, number 14, Pokemon, the first movie, so, okay.
Wait a minute. He directed the first Pokemon, the first movie?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm reading the, I'm sorry, I skipped one on accident. Number 15, Dead or Alive. It was
I love the games.
No, I love the games, too. This film was not good.
I heard of it.
No, not good, but I will say this. The casting was actually damn near perfect.
Did it have the drunken warrior, the drunken fighter?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's my favorite character in Dead or Alive.
It did have Katsumi. It pretty much had everybody, especially all the females. And I will say this: Jenna Presley impressed me because of just how.
Did it have jiggle physics? Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball, the movie. Yes. Jiggle physics.
It did, dude. They had one scene where a girl starts out a fight just after getting out of the shower. She's butt naked, and the camera plays just enough tricks to where you don't see anything. And the one shot that made me just like throw up my hands and just go, well, I can see what I'm in for now. Was when she kicks her bra up into the air, throws her arms up, and it goes perfectly over her arms and comes down on her, and she clamps her bra down, and then she puts on her pants.
And still no nipples?
No, didn't show nothing.
No nipples.
Well, it's Dead or Alive, dude. I mean, they never really show anything. outside of an occasional like booty here and there.
All right, let's get through this.
Sorry. So number 14, Pokemon the first movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah, yeah. Number 13, the first Lara Croft Tomb Raider movie, the first one with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
Okay.
That much like it.
Number 12, Hitman, Agent 47.
Wait, they made 2?
Yes.
Hitman? Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
the most recent one came out in 2015.
Fuck.
And by a lot of people's estimations, it was better than the first one.
Huh.
So, okay. Number 11, Resident Evil Apocalypse. The second Resident Evil.
That was also known as the best Resident Evil movie, but it's still...
by comparison to the series.
I can't remember. What was Apocalypse?
It was the one with the Nemesis. You know, the big dude with the
stars.
Yeah, Raccoon City.
Raccoon City.
Yeah, that one. Number 10, Rampage, the most recent addition to this list. The one based on the video games. Stupid movie, but it has The Rock in it, so it has that...
So about the new Rampage?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, I've actually heard that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was actually okay. I watched it. It was okay. Number 9, the most recent adaptation of Tomb Raider. The most recent Tomb Raider movie.
Obviously,
that was the most recent Tomb Raider movie?
Yeah, so for the new reboot...
Yeah, because I know the games. I didn't know they made a new movie.
Did a movie.
Alicia
I'm remembering now. Yeah,
Alicia
exactly.
Vikander is the new Lara
I
Croft.
actually thought it was good.
She's actually really good.
It definitely breaks away from the first reboot Tomb Raider game there a little bit, but
okay. Well, that's good. That's a good thing. I mean, get rid of.
And they kept to the theme of apparently supposedly innocent Lara Croft turning into a sociopath when she needs to murder fools.
Okay, next.
God. 2005, Doom.
Yes.
Oh God, gag me with a spoon and waterboard me at the same time.
That's number 8 on
that was God.
Yeah.
No.
The only thing I really liked about it was the cool the first person.
That was actually really well done.
Yeah.
I liked that part. Outside of that,
but then they end that with The Rock jumping down after he's turned into the evil thing.
The devil's possessed him.
Simplify, motherfucker.
Yeah, and not only that,
isn't that literally contrary to what you're fucking doing right now?
Yeah, and then there's also Rosamund Pike, who's a great actress. I think the director told her to read her lines as though she was a different character every scene, because her reading doesn't make any sense, because there's one scene she's just like, he's infected, we have to do something about this, and then all of a sudden in the next scene she's just like, what are we doing here? It's like, bitch, what?
You're asking me?
Yeah,
wait a minute.
Wait, you're the doctor. You're the doctor. What the hell? Okay, number 7, Super Mario Brothers, 1993.
Oh yeah,
God.
yeah. That's
a delightfully terrible car crash.
Don't do drugs, kids. Stay in school.
Yeah, stay away from them mushrooms. God. Number 6, Street Fighter, featuring a very Belgian Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yep, I've seen that one too.
Very American. Colonel
Wait a minute. That's the one. That's the one where she pulls the fireball out of her ass.
That's
true. It's not the old original one.
Oh,
it's that one.
It is that.
Yeah,
one.
she pulls the fireball out of her ass. Oh yeah, and I like the big rocket launcher that apparently does nothing. All you have to do to deflect a rocket launcher is just dive out of the way, and the explosion won't hurt you as long as you're diving away.
It's because rockets move so slow.
Because shrapnel doesn't work. Yeah. Anyways,
every movie that shows an RPG.
It's you're it able shoots to and then they see it, then they jump out of the way.
Like Black Hawk Down, where you can see the RPG.
It's not going 1,200 feet per second. I mean, it's just it goes slow, like the game. And next,
God. Number 5, Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. I didn't watch. I stopped watching the Resident Evil films after the 4th one.
I haven't. I saw the 5th one. That was where they went through all the different little environments.
You've seen all the army of clones, right?
The final
that was at the end of the 4th.
Army of the clones, right? Well, this one has the army of clones at the beginning, and it's like, oh man, now what are you gonna do? And then they all died except for her.
No, wait. Oh, no, that was.
Yeah, they defeated.
That was Afterlife.
Yeah,
where all the clones went to Tokyo, or whatever, and then immediately died.
Yeah, except for her. Except for the original one, she's the only one that survived.
And then there's Retribution, which is like they're in like a simulated reality fucking thing under the Siberian ice.
They don't know which way to go.
And the final chapter is like in Washington, right? Which that's the only one I haven't seen.
Which kills off, as they say on here, gives fans hope to kill off because they killed off any chance of continuity.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, James Wan, the director of the original Saw film, is in talks to produce the next Resident Evil film.
God.
I hope he just reboots the fucking series.
That's what he wants to do. No.
Well, I hope he does.
I hope he does.
Reboot it like they did with the 7th game, right?
You know what? They just need to reboot it and call it Biohazard. That way it gives a whole new name and less stain when I hear Resident Evil the movie. Just separate yourself as much as you can.
Thankfully, they're revitalizing the Resident Evil name with 7 and Resident Evil 2 remake. Because, holy crap, those games are awesome.
I just wish they would be co-op. Of course, I get it. It's a remaster.
Yeah. I mean, I wish they could do co-op as well.
Because I love the co-op on 5.
Oh, I did too. I thought that was actually the best part of that game.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, next.
Okay, number 4. Silent Hill from 2006.
Love it.
So yeah, that one actually was pretty good. There were certain things I was just like, but for the most part...
It wasn't as terrifying as the games, but man, it was still pretty cool.
I was still pretty young when the first Silent Hill came out, and I didn't really get too much into this series, so I don't know a whole hell of a lot about it, but I remember the movie was pretty good.
Well, yeah, I liked it. Okay, number 3, Mortal Kombat 1995. That was okay. Like I said, I talked about this earlier. Loved it as a kid, but as I've grown up, I've become a little bit more disenfranchised by it.
I've actually watched it probably like 100 times. I actually introduced my brother to Mortal Kombat the other day. He had never played a game, watched a movie, or anything. So we just went on a big Mortal Kombat binge and played the games, and I made him watch the movie again. He said, wow, this is actually good, seeming as this is an older-ass cheesy movie. I was like, yeah. The fight scenes are awesome.
Now we move on to the last Resident Evil movie. I think the last Resident Evil movie I ever watched. Resident Evil Afterlife.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is
that the one with the quarters? With the coins?
Oh,
she has the coins in the okay, yeah.
The shotgun.
Yeah, I remember that. In the bathroom when she runs up,
the big axe man,
she runs up the wall in the bathroom and just shoots a bunch of quarters into the dude's head.
See, that's the thing. Like, I like the whole part in the opening when like all her clones go to Tokyo and like fuck up that umbrella facility or whatever. That shit was cool. And then it pumped the brakes hard on the fucking where like it cuts to she's just kind of flying around the deserted.
I like it just because she stands there and looks.
That look.
But then
the whole time,
and then
like
damn, as they call this the piece of shit, the trashterpiece master, Resident Evil Retribution. That's number 1.
Oh, they got no one worse video games on them?
Yeah, well, on there, yeah. It's not really a list of best to worst, but that's just a list of them.
I can go ahead and say the worst cartoon adaptation in history right now.
What's that?
M. Night Shyamalama Ding Dong's Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I wanted to strangle his ass, and then at the last moment, let him go, and he'll be like, "What'd you do that for?" And I'd look him right in the face and go, "What a twist!"
I just don't. Yeah, I don't. He's known for making like the weird mindfuck movies. Why did he go?
And that's okay.
Because
that's
his
okay.
kids
Yeah.
liked it. That's it.
Yeah, because on the documentary he said because his daughter really liked the show and he really enjoyed watching it too. I'm like, well, no shit. Yeah. Didn't we all enjoy watching Avatar: The Last Airbender? Thanks for fucking it up.
Big
thumbs up.
You ruined it for everybody.
I guess he said, for his originality, and he wanted to make race a crucial part of it. That he made all the firebenders Middle Eastern, and then it just kind of I was like, what? No.
In terms of the context of the show, they were based off of the Empire of Japan.
Yeah.
During Japan's imperial era, and then of course you had the air nomads who were based off of the Tibetans. Mm-hmm. You had the Earth Temple, the Earth Kingdom, which was wholeheartedly based on Heartland, China. Mm-hmm. And then you had the
Water Tribes,
the Water Tribe, which is based off the Inuit.
Yeah, and Uncle Iroh, I'm sorry, he's my favorite character in the cartoon. You gotta be shitting me. And this old fart-looking motherfucker with no personality is just as serious as that damn this armor right here could act better than that son of a bitch. I mean, I could go mad.
Tom Shub is actually a decent actor.
Not in that movie,
in that, no, he was terrible as actor.
Well, then again, I don't think anybody was a good actor in that movie, even though they came from prior good acting.
Dev Patel was in Slumdog Millionaire, and he was awesome in that.
I mean, they looked as confused on camera as the audience did while watching it, because they were just like
the guy. He was on the Daily Show as a comedian that they made he was the main I forget general the bad guy, the main antagonist in Avatar. I forget what his name. General something. You know,
wait a minute. You talking about the Firebender, the Fire Lord?
Not the Fire Lord, but the
main general.
The first season, he was the general on the ship that was pretty much.
I just know he's a comedian from.
He was also after Zuko too.
Yeah.
He was also and Prince Zuko. I mean, come on, let's get real.
Dev Patel is a good actor. He was not in that film, and also
Ong. Oh, come on.
Ong. Wait,
my name's Ong.
Aang.
It's Aang.
Oh yeah, the all three of those child actors there for Aang, Katara, and Sokka.
And Sokka wasn't even funny.
No, instead he was an angsty teen.
Yeah, he was.
He was terrible. Jackson Rathbone.
Sokka,
what the hell are you doing, man? Also, Nicola
He's not that bad of an actor. I've seen him in other movies. I mean,
Nicola
come on.
Peltz, too. Nicola Peltz, she's a decent actress. In that, she was terrible. And also, the special effects. What the hell?
I love
the waters never lose water.
When they free the little Earth village there or whatever, and you have like 10 fucking Earthbenders get in a whole routine, and they do the fucking martial arts, and they lift a little 15-pound rock.
10 of them lift the rock.
I gotta fucking pick that fucking thing up.
In the show,
I can pick it up and throw it at you, some bitches.
One Earthbender could flip over a tank.
Yeah.
Just it took 10 of them to lift up a damn rock.
It was so stupid.
And then they lift a big water glob, and it just continuously like floods like a fountain, but never loses water. It never gets any smaller. And they couldn't start. The firebenders couldn't start their own fire. I mean, what happened?
Oh yeah, that was
I was
like, damn, they don't suddenly seem very scary now. Yeah, just put out all the fires, and there you go.
In their defense, obviously they have to compress it was a 10-hour for the first season. 10 hours.
For the first season, it was actually 26 episodes.
So they had to compress that.
Or no, 20 episodes. You're right.
So they had to compress all of that into 2 hours. So you're never gonna win with.
So why do it?
Well,
if I was a director and they said, "Hey, I can't do nothing,"
I'm not justifying them.
Yeah, I know.
I'm
just giving them a little.
If I were M. Night Shyamalan, which thankfully I'm not. If I were M. Night Shyamalan, what I would have done, number one, I would have filmed up until Jack. No,
poor Jack.
Dude, you need to get rid of those fucking answers.
Don't be hating on my Jack, man.
I would have filmed all the way up until the first 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And then I would have been like, okay, this was successful. Let's do the next one. And instead of turning it into 3 movies, you turn it into 6. And by the 6th film, like, everything's building up, and then the entire last film is Sozin's Comet.
Yep.
And could you imagine the stuff that they
that'd have been fun,
yeah, I would have been awesome.
I mean, well, look at Peter Jackson's movies. He takes a book as thick as The Hobbit, which is like it's damn thick, if you've seen the original. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, it's 3 long-ass fucking movies, but did anybody really complain about, oh, no, those movies are so long? No. You know why? Because they're fucking awesome.
Well, it's because he deciphered what worked on film, what didn't work on film, what made the story drag. Like, the complete... I know that a lot of people complained about the complete forgetting of Tom Bombadil, in which I understand why he did that, because Tom Bombadil, though he is important to the story, he is merely a form of transportation for the most part, and he's a little bit of an exposition, a little bit of exposition here and there, but overall he's not that integral to the story, so it makes sense to cut his whole section out where he's one of the most important characters in it, and instead they just take the ferry down the river, and that's that. But yeah, I think if you wanted to adapt it into doing something like that, you could do it. I think you could do it. It could be easily done.
I don't know what stipulations he was with, and I'm not trying to really defend M. Night Shyamalan for that atrocity. Believe me, I hate on it with all existence. But M. Night Shyamalan is not a bad director.
No.
He's got some great movies out there. I don't know what kind of, stipulations he was under during that, but it flopped hard. I mean, did the editor just not watch this shit and go, God damn, I quit? Like, I'm sorry, if I was an editor and I had to edit that, I would have quit. I would have been like, nah, dude, this shit sucks. You gotta, I mean, did anybody in that whole fucking cast and crew watch the show? Besides him and
his daughter.
Yeah, I mean, anyways, that's enough. You've heard my rant for Avatar: The Last Airbender.
We're about 2 hours in, so yeah.
I know a lot of people feel my pain.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nick, you still with us? All right. Just wanted to make sure he wasn't asleep this time. So I was talking about, got him thinking about.
Alrighty.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of Renegades Ramble. We went a lot of places in this. I mean, we went from video games to world politics, back to movies, and now we're ending it.
To what makes America great.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of politics and war. And...
America! Hell no. Okay,
Coming to save the motherfucking day, yeah.
America!
And copyright strike.
Yeah. So thank you all very much for tuning in, and I guess until next time, signing off, I'm Nate.
Croc.
And I'm Roan.
Jacob. Yeah.
And Nick is in there in the production office.
Threw me off, damn it.
Yeah, thank you all very much, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.